The word salary comes from salt. Long ago, Roman soldiers were sometimes paid, in part, with an allowance to buy salt, and the Latin word for that allowance, salarium, settled slowly into the languages that followed until it became the ordinary word for the money we earn. So every time someone mentions their salary, they are, in a soft and forgotten way, talking about salt. The dollar sign is older than the United States. The little S with a line through it most likely began as an abbreviation for the Spanish peso, written by clerks and merchants who shortened the letters until the P and the S folded together into a single mark. By the time the new country needed a symbol for its own money, the sign was already there, already familiar, already drifting across the ledgers of the Atlantic world. A pound of money was once a literal pound of money. The British pound began as a unit of weight, a pound of silver divided into coins. The word sterling rode along with it, and for a very long time, the currency and the scale agreed with each other, so that to have a pound was more or less to have a pound. The first paper money appeared in China more than 1,000 years ago, long before Europe thought to print value onto something so light. Merchants grew tired of hauling heavy strings of metal coins from town to town, and so notes of credit began to circulate, and the government, watching this, eventually printed notes of its own. There is a small island in the Pacific called Yap, where for generations the people used enormous stone discs as money. Some of these stones were taller than a person and far too heavy to move, and so a stone might change owners many times without ever leaving the spot where it rested. Everyone simply knew and agreed who it now belonged to. One famous stone is said to have sunk to the bottom of the sea during a storm, and yet it continued to be treated as valuable because everyone agreed it still existed down there and still belonged to someone. Let that idea settle softly. Money has often been just an agreement, a shared and quiet story that everyone decides to believe at the same time. The Federal Reserve in the United States is not one bank, but 12 regional banks scattered across the country in cities chosen long ago, and each one has its own letter and its own quiet duties. On certain old paper bills, you could read which bank issued the note by a single letter printed in a small circle. Coins are made at mints, and the United States has marked its coins with tiny letters to show where they were struck. A small D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, a P, sometimes, for Philadelphia, though for many years, Philadelphia coins carried no letter at all, as if the oldest mint felt no need to introduce itself. The ridges on the edge of a coin have a reason, and the reason is theft. When coins were made of silver and gold, people would shave thin slivers from the smooth edges and keep the precious metal passing the lightened coin along as if nothing had happened. So mints began cutting fine grooves into the rims, and a shaved edge became obvious, and the practice faded. The grooves stayed long after the silver left, and so a modern coin still carries the memory of an old dishonesty. Speaking of which, the practice of shaving coins had a name. It was called clipping. And another trick, sweating, involved shaking coins together in a bag so that a fine dust of metal collected at the bottom, to be gathered up later. Whole systems of suspicion grew up around the simple weight of a coin. Isaac Newton, the same Newton of gravity and light, spent the later part of his life running the Royal Mint in London. And he took the work seriously, chasing down counterfeiters through the taverns of the city, gathering evidence, sending some of them to their deaths. The man who weighed the heavens also weighed coins and guarded them fiercely. Gold is strange and soft and heavy, and a single ounce of it can be hammered into a sheet so thin it covers many square feet, thin enough that light glows faintly through it. Gold does not rust, does not tarnish, does not corrode in any ordinary way. And so the gold pulled from the earth thousands of years ago is very likely still here, melted and remelted, passed through countless hands, perhaps resting now in a ring or a tooth or a bar in a vault. It is sometimes said that nearly all the gold ever mined in human history would fit, if gathered together and melted into a single cube, into a shape only about 20 meters or so on each side. All of it, every crown and coin and buried hoard, a single quiet cube you could fit beneath a few tall trees. The largest gold vault in the world sits deep beneath the streets of Manhattan, far below a Federal Reserve building, resting on the bedrock of the island because nothing softer could hold the weight. Much of the gold there does not even belong to the United States. It belongs to other nations who keep it stored in that quiet stone room. And when gold moves between countries, sometimes it does not travel at all. Workers simply carry the bars from one nation's stack to another's, a few steps across the floor, and a fortune has changed hands. The workers who move that gold are said to wear magnesium covers over their shoes because a gold bar is heavy enough that dropping one on an unprotected foot would be a serious matter. A single standard bar weighs about as much as a small child and is worth more than most houses. Fort Knox, the famous vault in Kentucky, has become a kind of symbol for safety itself, the place where things are kept that must never be lost. Very few people are ever allowed inside, and the secrecy around it has grown into legend, so that the phrase "as safe as Fort Knox" passed into ordinary speech, used by people who will never see its doors. Let your thoughts grow heavier now, like a gold bar settling onto a stack. Paper money is not really made of paper at all, at least not in many countries. American bills are made mostly of cotton and linen, woven cloth rather than wood pulp, which is part of why a banknote can go through the wash by accident and survive crumpled but whole, while an ordinary sheet of paper would dissolve into pulp. There are tiny red and blue fibers scattered through the cloth of a dollar bill, woven in deliberately, and there are other quiet defenses too. Threads that glow under certain light, ink that shifts color when you tilt it, portraits with faint fine lines, too delicate for an ordinary copier to follow. A banknote is a small fortress of careful details, most of which no one ever notices. The average paper bill does not live very long. A $1 bill might circulate for only a handful of years before it grows too soft and worn to continue, and then it is taken out of circulation, shredded into confetti, and sometimes the shreds are pressed into bricks or given away as small souvenirs or used as a strange kind of fuel. Larger bills tend to live longer simply because they are handled less often, tucked away rather than passed around. So a $100 bill may outlast a $1 bill by many years, resting quietly in wallets and drawers, while the smaller notes wear themselves out in daily use. There was once a $500 bill and a $1,000 bill, and even larger ones, a $5,000 and a $10,000, and a single enormous note worth $100,000 that was never meant for the public at all, used only between banks. The faces on these great bills belonged to presidents and statesmen now half forgotten. The bills were quietly discontinued, and the ones that survive are worth far more to collectors than their printed value, which is a gentle little irony to drift off on. The phrase "to be worth your weight in gold" sounds like a great compliment, but a human being is not actually worth very much in gold by weight. Not because gold is cheap, but because we are mostly water, and water, for all its necessity, has never commanded much of a price. The stock market began, in a sense, under a tree. In the early days of New York, traders are said to have gathered beneath a buttonwood tree on a street that is now lined with towering stone, and they signed a simple agreement about how they would trade with one another. And from that small, shaded gathering grew one of the largest exchanges in the world. The street, of course, was Wall Street, named for an actual wall that once stood there, built long before by Dutch settlers to mark the edge of their small town. A bull market and a bear market, the rising and the falling, take their names from the animals, and there are several soft stories about why. One says the bull thrusts its horns upward, while the bear swipes its paws downward, and so the upward market became the bull, and the downward market the bear. Whether that is the true origin or simply the one that stuck, no one can be quite certain, and it does not matter at all tonight. The ticker tape, that long ribbon of paper that once clattered out of machines printing the latest prices, gave its name to the ticker tape parade, where the used paper was thrown from windows in celebration, drifting down over the streets like snow. The machines are long gone, but the parades kept the name, and now confetti falls where stock prices once did. Companies on the stock market are known by short symbols, little clusters of letters, and some of them are quietly clever. A motorcycle company chose the symbol that sounds like a hog because its riders called the bikes hogs. A coffee company once used a symbol that hinted at the warmth of its drinks. These small jokes sit hidden in plain sight on the great boards of the exchanges. The opening and closing of the trading day are marked by a bell, an actual bell that someone rings, and being invited to ring it has become an honor handed to athletes and actors and founders and the occasional mascot. The bell rings, the day begins, the bell rings again, the day ends, and in between, fortunes shift like weather. Let the bell ring softly somewhere far away and let your breathing slow. The very first item ever sold on the auction site that would become a giant of online commerce was, of all things, a broken laser pointer. The seller, surprised that anyone would want it, contacted the buyer to make sure he understood it was broken. And the buyer explained that he collected broken laser pointers. And so, the great machine of online trade began with a broken thing, and a collector of broken things. The richest people in history may not be the ones you would guess. There was a ruler of a West African empire centuries ago named Mansa Musa, whose wealth in gold was so vast that when he traveled across the desert on a pilgrimage, giving gold away freely along the way, he is said to have accidentally disrupted the value of gold in the cities he passed through simply by being so generous. His riches were so great that no one has ever truly been able to count them. The word bank comes from a bench. In medieval Italy, moneylenders and money changers conducted their business seated at benches in the marketplace. And the Italian word for bench, banca, became the word for the business itself. And when a moneylender failed, his bench was sometimes broken, bancarotta, a broken bench, and from that we get the word bankrupt, which still carries the quiet image of a shattered bench in the empty marketplace. Interest, the small amount of money that money earns simply by existing in the right place, is one of the oldest ideas in finance, recorded on clay tablets thousands of years old, in the form of grain loaned and grain repaid with a little extra. The idea that a thing could grow simply by being lent was old before writing was young. There is a famous puzzle about a chessboard and grains of rice, where 1 grain is placed on the first square, 2 on the second, 4 on the third, and the count doubles with each square. By the time you reach the 64th and final square, the number of grains is so enormous it would bury a country far more rice than has ever existed. The lesson, repeated gently to anyone who will listen, is that doubling, given enough time, becomes unimaginable. This is the quiet engine behind compound interest, money doubling and doubling in the dark. The rule of 72 is a small trick that bankers carry in their heads. To learn roughly how many years it takes for money to double at a given rate of interest, you divide 72 by the rate. At about 7%, money doubles in roughly 10 years. It is not exact, but it is close enough to whisper, and it has comforted and tempted savers for generations. There is a number, named after an old Italian mathematician, that appears in a sequence where each number is the sum of the 2 before it. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13 and onward. This sequence shows up in sunflowers and seashells and the spirals of galaxies, and some traders believe it shows up in markets too, in the rhythm of prices rising and falling, though whether the market truly listens to such numbers or whether people simply wish it did is a question soft enough to fall asleep on. The penny costs more to make than it is worth. For many years now, the small amount of metal and labor that goes into a single 1-cent coin has added up to more than 1 cent, so that every penny made is, in a tiny way, a loss. And yet the penny endures, kept alive by habit and sentiment and the simple difficulty of letting go. The nickel, too, has at times cost more than 5 cents to produce, so that the 2 smallest American coins have both, at moments, cost more than they are worth, while the larger coins quietly turn a profit, and the mint balances the strange arithmetic of making money that costs money. The difference between the cost of making a coin and the value the coin carries has a name. It is called seigniorage, an old word from the days of feudal lords, the seigneurs, who took a cut for the privilege of minting. When a government makes a coin worth more than it costs, that gap is a quiet form of revenue, money made simply by declaring that money exists. Drift a little deeper now. None of this needs holding on to. There is a type of trade called short selling, where a person can profit when a price falls by borrowing something, selling it, and buying it back later for less. It feels almost backward, making money from a thing going down, and it carries a particular danger, because while a price can only fall to 0, it can rise without limit, and so the risk of betting against a thing is, in theory, endless. But we will not worry about that tonight. The first credit card was not plastic at all, but cardboard, and the story goes that a man, embarrassed at a dinner when he found he had forgotten his wallet, conceived of a card that would let him dine on credit at many restaurants. That early dining card grew into the great web of credit that now spans the world, all sparked, the story says, by one forgotten wallet and one awkward evening. The magnetic stripe on the back of a card was developed quietly by an engineer who is said to have struggled to attach the stripe to the plastic until his wife, doing the ironing, suggested he simply iron it on, and it worked. So a small domestic moment helped shape the way the world pays. The numbers on a credit card are not random. The first digits identify the kind of card and the company behind it, and the very last digit is a check digit, calculated from all the others by a small mathematical rule, so that a typo in the number will usually fail the test and be caught. The rule is named after the man who devised it, and it hums away invisibly behind every purchase. A check The paper kind works by a kind of trust stretched across distance and time. An instruction written on paper telling a bank to move money, and the little numbers printed along the bottom in that strange, blocky font are written in magnetic ink, so machines can read them. The font has a name, and it was designed to be read by both human eyes and early machines, a quiet compromise between people and the devices that serve them. There was a time when checks were physically flown across the country every night in planes full of paper so that the banks could settle their accounts. Storms that grounded the planes could quietly slow the entire flow of money. And so the weather, in a small way, was part of the financial system. Eventually, images replaced the paper, and the planes of money came down to earth. The word cash may come from an old word for a box or chest, the container where coins were kept, and over time, the name of the box became the name of what was kept inside it, which is a gentle little reversal, the container becoming the contents. A safe, the heavy metal box that guards valuables, is a small marvel of engineering, with bolts and wheels and tumblers, and the best old safes were built to survive fire and flood, and the patient attentions of thieves. There were craftsmen who made safes and craftsmen who learned to open them, and the long, quiet contest between them pushed both crafts to remarkable heights. The combination lock, with its dial and its careful clicks, works by aligning a set of notched wheels so that a gate falls into place and the bolt can move. A skilled hand, listening and feeling, could once coax some of them open without the combination, and so the makers added false notches and baffles and clever tricks, a whole hidden architecture of misdirection inside a small metal dial. Let the dial turn slowly in your mind, click by gentle click, and let each click loosen something in you. In Sweden, a country racing toward a future with almost no physical money, some churches now accept donations by card, and street performers carry small card readers, and a coin in the hand has become a quaint and rare thing. Money there has become almost entirely a matter of numbers, moving between machines, light and invisible. There is a tiny nation that once used very large stone coins, which we spoke of, and there are other strange monies scattered through history. People have used salt, as we said, and also cacao beans, and cowrie shells, and great wheels of cheese, and bricks of compressed tea, and cigarettes in places where ordinary money had failed. Almost anything, it seems, can become money if enough people agree to treat it that way. In prisoner of war camps during certain wars, cigarettes became a true currency, with prices and exchange rates, and a man who did not smoke could still grow rich in cigarettes, trading them for food and favors. And the value of a cigarette rose and fell with the supply, exactly like any currency anywhere. Bricks of tea, pressed hard and dense, served as money across parts of Asia for centuries. And the wonderful thing about tea money was that if you grew hungry or cold, you could simply break off a piece of your wealth and drink it. Money you could steep into a warm cup is a comforting thought for a cold night. The cacao bean was money among certain ancient peoples of the Americas, and chocolate was a drink for the wealthy, so that one could, in a real sense, drink one's money or grow it on trees. And counterfeiters even made false cacao beans out of clay, the oldest trick wearing the oldest disguise. The expression, "to pay through the nose," is sometimes traced, perhaps fancifully, to a brutal old tax, but its true origin is murky, and many money phrases are like this, their roots lost, their meanings drifting free of whatever first gave them shape. To make ends meet, to bring home the bacon, to cost an arm and a leg, all of them worn smooth by use, until no one remembers the hand that first spoke them. Money laundering, the hiding of ill-gotten money by passing it through legitimate business, may take its name. The pleasing story goes, from gangsters who owned laundromats and mixed their dirty cash with the honest coins of people washing clothes. Whether or not that is the true source, the image is perfect, and the word stuck, so that now even the cleanest financial crimes are described with the language of soap and water. Counterfeiting is sometimes called the second oldest profession, and as long as there has been money worth faking, there have been people faking it. Whole wars have involved secret schemes to flood an enemy nation with fake bills, hoping to ruin its money from within, printing falsehood by the ton. A man once lived for years on a single forged note that he never actually spent, simply showing it as proof of wealth, and there are tales of forgers so skilled their fakes were better made than the real thing, with sharper lines and finer detail, betrayed in the end only by their excellence. Sink a little further now, like a coin settling to the bottom of a fountain. Among all the wishes, the fountains of the world collect a surprising amount of money, tossed in by people making wishes, and the coins are gathered up periodically and often given to charity, so that all those small private hopes add up in the end to something that helps a stranger. One famous fountain in Rome collects a great deal of coin each year, swept up gently and put to use. There is a profession devoted to deciding what a coin or a bill is worth to collectors, grading them by tiny gradations of wear and shine, and a single coin in perfect condition can be worth a fortune, while its ordinary twin is worth only its face. The study of coins is called numismatics, a soft and scholarly word, and the people who love coins will happily spend hours over a single small disc of metal, reading its history in its scratches. The most valuable coin ever sold went for many millions, an old American gold coin with a strange and tangled legal history, most of its fellow coins having been melted long ago, so that the survivor became almost unique, and rarity, as always, drove the price far beyond the gold itself. A misprinted bill or a coin struck wrongly can be worth far more than a perfect one, because errors are rare, and collectors prize the mistake. A coin stamped twice, or off-center, or struck on the wrong metal, becomes a small treasure precisely because something went quietly wrong in the machinery one day long ago. There is an old idea called Gresham's Law, which says, in gentle terms, that bad money drives out good. When two kinds of money circulate, and one is more valuable as metal than the other, people hoard the good and spend the bad until only the bad money is left moving about. So the worse money wins the daylight, while the better money sleeps in hiding. The opposite can happen too, in its way, and economists have argued softly about the exact conditions for centuries, but the heart of it is simple and almost human. We keep what we treasure, and we pass along what we do not, and so the marketplace slowly fills with the things we valued least. Inflation, the slow rising of prices over time, means that a coin today will likely buy less tomorrow, and a dollar from 100 years ago could buy a great deal more than a dollar now. This is why people who buried money in jars long ago, hoping to keep it safe, often found that time had quietly eaten much of its value, even though every bill was still there. There have been times of inflation so extreme that prices doubled in days or even in hours, and people carried money in wheelbarrows and baskets, and the paper became worth more as fuel or wallpaper than as money. In one such time, children played with bricks of banknotes in the street, stacking worthless fortunes into little towers. In one country during such a time, a loaf of bread that cost a small sum in the morning might cost many times that by evening, and workers were paid twice a day so they could rush out and spend before the money melted further. The printing presses ran day and night, printing larger and larger numbers until the numbers themselves lost all meaning. A currency can carry astonishing numbers. There have been banknotes printed with denominations in the trillions, single notes bearing more zeros than anyone could comfortably count, and yet worth almost nothing, so that a person might be, on paper, a trillionaire and still unable to buy a meal. These notes now sell to collectors around the world as curiosities worth more as novelties than they ever were as money. Breathe slowly. The numbers grow large and meaningless and float away. To fight runaway inflation, a country sometimes simply starts over, issuing a brand new currency and declaring that a large number of the old units now equal one of the new. They cross out the zeros, in effect, and begin again, and people slowly learn to think in the new small numbers, leaving the old, enormous ones behind like a strange dream. The opposite of inflation is deflation, when prices fall and money grows more valuable over time, which sounds pleasant but carries its own quiet troubles, because if money will be worth more tomorrow, people delay spending, and the slowing of spending can chill an entire economy into stillness. Economists tend to prefer a little gentle inflation, a soft and steady warmth over the cold of falling prices. Central banks, the great quiet institutions that guard a nation's money, try to keep inflation low and steady, often aiming for around 2% a year, a number chosen as a comfortable middle, enough to keep the economy warm, but not so much as to burn. They adjust the cost of borrowing, raising and lowering interest rates like someone gently turning a thermostat in a vast and sleeping house. When a central bank lowers interest rates, borrowing grows cheaper and money flows more freely, and when it raises them, money grows scarce and careful, and the whole economy responds slowly, like a great ship turning, so that the effects of a decision today may not be fully felt for a year or more. Patience is built into the very machinery of money. The people who lead central banks become, in their quiet way, some of the most powerful figures in the world, and yet they speak in such careful, soft, deliberately dull language that listening to them is itself a kind of sedative. They have learned that a single careless word can move markets, and so they have perfected the art of saying almost nothing in the most reassuring possible tone. There is even a phrase for this careful vagueness, sometimes called the language of central banking, where words are chosen for their smoothness rather than their meaning, and traders pass every syllable for hidden signals. A slight change from one mild word to another can send fortunes shifting, and so the dullness is, in its way, a kind of power. Let their dull, soothing voices blur together in your mind, saying nothing, meaning calm. Bonds are a kind of loan you make to a government or a company, and in return, they promise to pay you back later with a little extra. And the oldest bonds were beautiful printed certificates with coupons attached, little tabs you would clip off and redeem for your interest payments. This is the true origin of the phrase coupon, those clipped tabs of paper, long before the word meant a discount on groceries. Some bonds were issued that never end, paying interest forever with no final repayment, and a few of these were still paying out centuries after they were issued, honored faithfully by governments long after the original lenders had died, so that the descendants or the institutions that held the bonds kept receiving small payments echoing down through the generations. There was a bond issued so long ago by a Dutch water authority that it has been paying interest for hundreds of years and reportedly still does, a thin thread of payment stretching across centuries, honored quietly all that time, the original parchment kept in a university collection and still, every so often, redeemed for its small and faithful interest. Stocks represent ownership, a tiny sliver of a company, and the very first companies to sell shares to the public did so to fund great risky voyages by sea, spreading the danger of a ship lost at sea across many investors so that no single person was ruined if a ship went down. The joint stock company was, at heart, a way of sharing fear. One of the earliest great stock companies traded spices from distant islands, and its shares were among the first to be bought and sold freely. And the company grew so powerful, it had its own ships and soldiers, and even waged its own wars. A business that behaved like a nation. Money, gathered in enough quantity, has always blurred into power. There was a famous bubble long ago when the price of tulip bulbs in the Netherlands rose to astonishing heights, with single rare bulbs trading for the price of a fine house, until one day the spell broke and the prices collapsed, and people who thought themselves rich found they owned only flowers. Whether the madness was truly as great as the legend says is debated softly by historians, but the story endures as a gentle warning about wanting a thing simply because its price keeps rising. There were other bubbles too, in shares of companies that promised wealth from distant seas, and in one famous case, a company was floated for a purpose so vague that its prospectus described it only as a venture of great advantage. But no one was to know what it was, and people bought in anyway, handing over their money for a secret that turned out to be nothing at all. People have always wanted to believe in the thing that will make them rich, and the wanting itself can lift a price far beyond any sense, until the wanting tires and the price falls back to earth. And everyone wonders, in the soft light afterward, how they ever believed. Let the bubbles rise and shimmer and quietly pop far away, harming no one tonight. The first automatic teller machine, the cash machine, appeared in London, and the early ones did not use plastic cards as we know them, but special vouchers, and a man is credited with the idea, said to have thought of it while in the bath, imagining a machine that could dispense money like a machine dispensed chocolate bars. He chose a 4-digit code, the story goes, because his wife felt that was the most she could reliably remember. And so the length of the personal code we still use today was decided in part by one woman's memory. The machines that dispense cash are filled and emptied by armored trucks, and the people who carry the money wear vests and move carefully. And the whole choreography of moving cash around a city is a quiet ballet of timing and trust, hidden in plain sight on ordinary streets. Money itself is famously dirty, carrying traces of whatever it touches, and studies have found all manner of things on the surface of circulating bills, so that the money in your pocket has quietly visited countless hands and pockets and counters before reaching you, a small traveler with an unrecorded life. Because of this, some countries have moved to making their money out of a thin, flexible plastic instead of cloth, plastic that resists dirt and water and tearing. And these polymer notes can survive a trip through the washing machine entirely unbothered, and they have a small, clear window built right into them, a little pane of transparency that is very hard to fake. Australia was a pioneer of these plastic notes, and the little clear windows in them became a point of national pride, and other countries followed, so that increasingly the money of the world is smooth and shiny and faintly slippery. and lasts far longer than the old cloth notes ever did. A vending machine can tell a real coin from a fake by measuring its size and weight, and even the way it conducts electricity, rolling it past sensors in the dark interior of the machine, rejecting the slugs and washers and foreign coins that hopeful people sometimes try. There is a small, quiet intelligence inside the humble vending machine, judging each coin as it falls. The first vending machines are very old indeed, and one was described in ancient times, a device that dispensed a measure of holy water when a coin was dropped in, the weight of the coin tipping a lever that released the water and then closed again. So the idea of a machine that trades goods for coins is thousands of years old, older than most of the money we use. Let the coin drop, let the lever tip, let the water flow, slow and even. The word fortune once meant chance or luck, named for a goddess who turned a great wheel, raising people up and casting them down without reason. And so a fortune in money still carries faintly that old sense of luck, of the wheel turning, of being lifted or lowered by forces beyond control. A nest egg, the savings set aside for the future, takes its name from an old farming trick where a real or fake egg was left in a hen's nest to encourage her to lay more eggs there. The saved money, like the egg in the nest, was meant to encourage more to gather around it, and the image of an egg kept warm and waiting is a soft one for a quiet night. To squirrel money away, to salt it away, to feather one's nest. So much of the language of saving comes from animals and their patient hoarding, the squirrel burying acorns, the bird lining its nest, as if we recognized in ourselves the same old instinct to gather and store against the coming cold. A piggy bank may have gotten its name from a kind of clay, once called pig, used to make jars and pots in which people stored coins, so that a pig jar slowly, through the drift of words, became a pig-shaped bank, the material lending its name, and then, charmingly, its shape. Whether that is the true story or a pleasant legend, generations of children have fed coins to small ceramic pigs, and that is a gentle enough fact to rest on. In some countries, the lucky money animal is not a pig, but something else. A cat, a frog, a fish, and small figures of these animals sit in shops and homes, inviting wealth to come. A beckoning cat with a raised paw, a frog with a coin in its mouth, quiet little guardians of prosperity, watching over the counters of the world. The beckoning cat, with its slowly waving paw, is said to invite fortune inside, and you will find it in many shop windows, tirelessly waving, welcoming money and luck with the same patient gesture, hour after hour, never tiring, a small, tireless wish made of plastic and hope. Drift now. Let the little cat wave you gently towards sleep. There is a word, mortgage, that comes from Old French and means, quite literally, death pledge, a grim little origin for the loan that buys a house. The pledge was said to die when the debt was paid or when the borrower failed to pay, and so the dead pledge has carried its faintly morbid name for centuries into the warm and ordinary dream of owning a home. The longest a mortgage typically runs is 30 years, a span so long that the house may change in ways no one imagined when the loan began, and over that time, the slow magic of interest means a borrower may pay back nearly twice what they borrowed, the extra vanishing quietly into the lender's accounts, a little each month for decades. A small change in the rate of interest on a loan that large, spread over so many years, can mean a difference of many thousands, which is why people watch the rates so closely and why a fraction of a percent can be worth losing sleep over, though not tonight, not for you, not now. Amortization is the soft word for the slow paying down of a loan, the steady chipping away at a great sum until it is gone. And the word shares a root with that death pledge, the idea of a debt slowly dying, payment by payment, until at last it is laid to rest and the house is truly yours. The very rich often do not keep their money as money at all, but as things, land and buildings and shares and art and companies, so that their wealth is not a pile of coins anywhere but a web of ownership spread across the world. And the number that describes their wealth is mostly an estimate, a guess at what all those things would fetch if sold, which they rarely are. This is why the wealthiest people can grow richer or poorer by enormous sums in a single day without anything truly changing in their lives, because the value of the things they own rises and falls on the markets while they sleep, and they wake to find themselves a fortune richer or poorer, having done nothing at all. Art has become a strange kind of money for the very wealthy, a single painting worth more than a building, and there are vast, guarded warehouses near airports, in special tax-free zones, where masterpieces are stored in the dark, never displayed, simply owned, changing hands sometimes without ever leaving the warehouse, a beauty locked away purely as value. These free ports, as they are called, hold untold treasures in climate-controlled silence, paintings and sculptures and crates of fine wine and bars of gold, a hidden museum that no one visits, where the world's loveliest things wait in the dark, valued precisely because they are kept. Let the masterpieces rest in their dark, quiet rooms, and let yourself rest too. The idea of a budget comes from a word for a small bag or pouch, the bag in which a treasurer would carry his papers, and in time, the contents of the bag, the plans for spending and saving, became the budget itself, another case of the container giving its name to what it held. The chief minister of money in Britain still, by tradition, carries a famous old red bag on the day the budget is announced, holding it up for the cameras, a small ceremony of the pouch. That red bag, or one like it, has been used for generations, repaired and eventually retired and replaced, and the holding up of the bag is one of those gentle rituals that gather around money, the dignified display of an old leather case before the serious business of numbers begins. Taxes are very old, older than coins in some places, paid in grain and labor and livestock long before they were paid in money, and there have been taxes on the strangest things, on windows, on beards, on hats, on playing cards, on the very salt we began with. Each tax leaving its faint mark on how people lived and what they owned. There was once a tax on windows, and so people bricked up their windows to avoid it, and you can still see on certain very old houses the blank spaces where windows were sealed away, a building squinting against an old tax, the marks of an old frugality frozen in brick. There was a tax on beards in old Russia, meant to push men to shave in the modern fashion, and those who wished to keep their beards had to pay and carry a small token, proving they had paid, a beard token, a little coin that meant simply, "This beard is permitted." One can only smile gently at the thought of a man patting his pocket to be sure he had not lost the right to his own face. There have been taxes on hats marked by a stamp inside the lining, and taxes on playing cards, marked on a particular card in the deck, and forging that mark was treated as a serious crime, so that the ace of spades in old English decks became an elaborate, official, heavily decorated thing, carrying the proof that its tax was paid. That is why, even now, the ace of spades is often the fanciest card in the deck, the most decorated, a quiet inheritance from the days when it had to bear the mark of the taxman, a small flourish of history hiding in every pack of cards. Let the cards shuffle softly somewhere, and let the soft sound carry you down. The phrase "the buck stops here," meaning that responsibility ends with the person who says it, comes from an old gambling custom, where a marker, sometimes a knife with a buckhorn handle, was passed around to show whose turn it was to deal. To pass the buck was to pass the responsibility along, and so a president once kept a small sign on his desk declaring that here, at last, the buck would stop. And from that same old marker, the buck, we may also get the slang word for a dollar, though that origin is softer and less certain. A grand, meaning $1,000, and a C note, meaning 100, from the Roman numeral, and a sawbuck, meaning 10, from the X-shaped frame of a sawing bench that resembled the Roman 10. The language of money is full of these small, hidden pictures, sawbucks and C-notes and bucks, each one a little riddle, worn smooth by time. 2 bits means 25 cents, from the old practice of cutting a Spanish silver dollar into 8 pieces, 8 bits to a dollar, so that a quarter of a dollar was 2 of those bits. This is why an old American stock price was once quoted in eighths, and why we still sometimes speak of pieces of 8. The cut silver coins of pirate stories, real money once, sliced like a pie. The pirates' pieces of 8 were exactly that, real silver dollars cut into 8 wedge-shaped pieces to make change, so that a person might literally carry a piece of 8, a single slice of a coin, in their pocket. And the romantic plunder of pirate tales was, at bottom, a matter of careful change-making with a knife. For most of American history, the stock market quoted prices in fractions, in eighths and sixteenths of a dollar. This old inheritance from cut Spanish coins, and only fairly recently did the market switch to ordinary cents, so that for centuries, traders thought in halves and quarters and eighths, the ghost of pieces of 8 haunting the great exchanges. The smallest sliver a price could move in those days was 1/16th of a dollar, and they called it a teeny, a small, affectionate word for the smallest possible change, and traders fought over teenies, those tiny slices of value, the last faint echo of a Spanish coin under a pirate's knife. Sink towards sleep, now slow as silver settling. The phrase "to break the bank" comes from gambling, from the idea of winning more than the house, the Hobe Bank, has set aside to pay out, so that the table must close. It rarely truly happened, but the phrase survived, the dream of winning so much that the very house of money runs dry. A casino keeps a small edge in every game, a tiny tilt in its favor. And that small edge, multiplied across countless bets, is what builds the great glittering buildings, so that the house does not need to win often, only to win slightly, again and again, patiently, forever. The house edge is one of the most reliable engines of money ever devised, quiet and relentless and small. The wheel of a roulette table is built with great care to be truly random, balanced and tested, because even a slight flaw, a tiny tilt, or a worn pocket could let a careful watcher predict where the ball might fall. And clever people have indeed now and then found such flaws and quietly profited until the casinos noticed and replaced the wheel. The order of the numbers around a roulette wheel is not in sequence, but carefully scattered, so that high and low and red and black are spread evenly around the rim, a deliberate disorder designed to look like chaos, while being, in fact, a careful and balanced arrangement. Slot machines were once mechanical, with real spinning reels and real springs, and the symbols of fruit on their reels, the cherries and lemons and plums, come from an old time when some machines paid out in flavored gum instead of money, the fruit on the reel matching the flavor you might win. So the cheerful fruit of the slot machine is a faded memory of chewing gum, dispensed instead of cash. The word jackpot comes from a card game where the pot, the pile of money to be won, would build up until someone held a strong enough hand to win it. And the building pot was the jackpot, the accumulated treasure waiting for the right moment. And the word drifted out into the world to mean any great sudden winning. Lotteries are very old and have been used to fund great public works, walls and bridges, and even universities. The small hopeful purchases of many people gathered into a single great sum, so that the long-shot dreams of the many quietly built lasting things for all. Some of the oldest and finest institutions were funded, in part, by lotteries, by the patient pennies of hope. The odds of winning a great lottery are so small as to be almost unimaginable, smaller than many things we never fear at all. And yet the ticket buys something real. A few days of pleasant dreaming, of imagining the house and the freedom and the ease, and perhaps that small warm dream is worth the price of the ticket. Whatever the odds, let yourself dream that pleasant dream gently and let it blur into ordinary sleep. There is a strange and quiet fact that most of the money in the world does not exist as cash at all, but only as numbers in the computers of banks, so that if everyone tried to withdraw their money as physical bills at once, there would not be nearly enough printed to go around. The money is mostly a shared and trusted record, a vast agreement humming in machines, and it works precisely because almost no one ever tests it. When a bank lends money, it does not, in a simple sense, hand over coins it has in a vault, but rather creates a new number in the borrower's account, so that the act of lending quietly brings new money into being. And most of the money in circulation was born this way, as loans, as numbers spoken into existence and slowly paid back down. This is one of the softest and strangest truths of modern money, that it is mostly made of promises, loans, and debts and credits, a great web of mutual trust, and the coins and bills in our pockets are only the small, visible tip of an enormous invisible structure made of agreement and belief. A run on a bank happens when too many people, all at once, lose faith and rush to withdraw their money. And because the bank does not hold everyone's money in cash, it cannot pay them all. And the very panic that money is unsafe is what makes it unsafe, a fear that creates the thing it fears. To prevent this, governments now promise to insure deposits so that people need not panic, and the promise itself keeps the panic away. This insurance of deposits, a government promise that your money is safe up to a certain amount, was one of the quiet inventions that made banking calmer, because once people believed their money was safe, they stopped rushing to withdraw it, and the calm became self-fulfilling, just as the panic once was. Belief in money has a way of making itself true. There is a vault somewhere in many countries where the master records are kept, and there are backups and backups of backups in distant, secure places, so that even a great disaster could not erase the record of who owns what. The memory of money preserved against fire and flood and time, copied and recopied in the dark. Breathe out slowly. The great web of money hums on without you tonight. The very wealthy sometimes engage in a quiet competition of not spending, where true status is shown not by display, but by restraint, by old worn things and understated cars. A kind of wealth so secure it has no need to announce itself. And the loudest spending is sometimes the mark of the least secure. There is a gentle irony in this, that the surest sign of money can be its careful absence. There is an old observation that people often spend more freely when they cannot feel the money leaving, that paying with a card hurts less than paying with cash, and paying with a tap of a phone less still, so that as money grows more invisible, it slips away more easily, unfelt. And the merchants of the world understand this very well. The placement of items in a shop, the music played, the temperature, the scent in the air, all of it is sometimes arranged with quiet care to encourage spending, to slow you down or speed you up, to make you comfortable enough to linger. And the slow music in a supermarket may be slow on purpose, to keep you ambling gently past the shelves. The most expensive items are often placed at eye level, and the cheaper ones high or low where you must reach or stoop, and the things meant to tempt you wait near the register, where you stand idle and your resistance is low. Small, sweet purchases for the waiting moment, arranged with a knowledge of human patience worn thin. A price ending in 9, like a number just below a round one, feels meaningfully smaller than it is. And this small trick of the mind has been used for so long and so widely that prices ending in 9 have become almost the natural shape of a price. A tiny illusion repeated billions of times across the shelves of the world. The size of a plate, the shape of a glass, the lighting of a room, all of these gently shape how much we eat and drink and spend. And an entire quiet science studies these small nudges, the soft architecture of choice, arranging the world so that the easy path and the profitable path quietly become the same. Let all those gentle manipulations fall away now. There is nothing here to buy, nothing to choose, only rest. The phrase nest of savings and the old jars of buried coins remind us that for most of history, keeping money safe meant hiding it in the ground, in the walls, beneath the floorboards, and even now, treasures are found by accident. Jars of old coins turned up by a plow or a builder, the hidden savings of someone long dead, who buried their wealth against a danger, and then, for whatever sad or simple reason, never came back for it. These hoards, as they are called, turn up surprisingly often, coins and jewelry and silver buried in times of war or fear and forgotten. And the finding of them is governed by careful laws, some going to the finder, some to the landowner, some to the nation, the dead saver's caution becoming, centuries later, a small windfall and a window into a vanished life. One of the loveliest things about an old buried hoard is that it freezes a moment of money, the coins all from before a certain year, the latest of them marking roughly the year the fear came and the jar went into the ground, so that historians can date the burying almost to the season, reading a moment of panic in a jar of quiet coins. Sometimes the coins in a hoard are worn and sometimes fresh, and the mix tells a story. The worn ones long in circulation, the fresh ones newly minted, all gathered and hidden together. A small frozen portrait of one person's money on one particular frightened day, kept perfectly still for 1,000 years. The study of all this, of old money and what it tells us, joins with the study of old writing and old objects to rebuild the daily texture of vanished lives. How much a loaf cost, what a soldier was paid, what a fine could ruin a family. All of it read from coins and tablets and scraps, the arithmetic of the dead patiently reassembled. Let the old coins rest in their jars in the cool earth, undisturbed, and rest yourself. The expression filthy rich and the older phrase stinking rich both tie wealth to dirt and smell, perhaps because great fortunes were often made in dirty trades, in tanning and mining and slaughter and trade, and the moral unease about wealth crept into the very words, so that to be very rich was, in the language, to be a little soiled by it, to be loaded, to be flush, to be rolling in it. The language of having a great deal of money is wonderfully physical, full of weight and flow and rolling, as if money were a substance one could be drenched in or buried under. And perhaps, to those who have it in great quantity, it does begin to feel that way. A flood, a weight, a thing that rolls. To be broke, on the other hand, is to be broken, like the moneylender's shattered bench, and to be skint and strapped and hard up and down to one's last. The language of having no money is just as physical, full of breaking and tightening and scraping, the body of the poor pressed thin against the world. To live hand to mouth is to earn only enough to eat at once, with nothing set aside. The food going straight from the working hand to the hungry mouth. No nest egg, no jar in the ground, no pause between earning and eating. And it is one of the oldest and most exact descriptions of poverty in the language, gentle in sound and hard in meaning. The poverty line is a quiet number, a threshold below which a household is counted as poor, calculated and recalculated as prices change, a line drawn across the great range of human circumstance, and it is a strange and humane act, this attempt to mark with a single number where hardship begins. Money cannot buy happiness, the old saying goes, and the careful studies of it suggest something gentler and more interesting, that money buys relief from a great deal of suffering and worry up to a point, and then its power to lift the spirit fades, so that beyond a comfortable sufficiency, more money adds little to the quiet contentment of a life. The first dollars matter enormously, and the millionth hardly at all. Let that be a soft thought to rest on, that enough is a real thing, and that beyond it lies only more, and that you, right now, in this quiet, need nothing more at all. The word economy comes from Old Greek words, meaning the management of a household, the careful running of a home, the stores of grain and oil, the labor of the family, and only slowly did this small domestic word swell to mean the management of a whole nation's wealth. But at its root, it is still about a household, about keeping a home, about having enough and using it well. A recession, the slowing of an economy, is defined in soft technical terms, but it is felt as a kind of collective caution, a great tightening of belts all at once, spending slowing because incomes feel uncertain, and incomes growing uncertain because spending has slowed. A whole nation pulling gently inward at the same time, like a creature curling up against a chill. A depression is a recession grown long and deep, a winter of the economy that lasts years, and the great one of the last century left such a mark that people who lived through it kept careful, frugal habits for the rest of their lives, washing and reusing things, saving string and foil, never quite trusting that the good times would stay, the fear of want outliving the want itself. The opposite, a boom, is a time of confidence and spending and building, when money flows freely and everyone feels a little richer, and booms and busts have followed one another throughout history like the breathing of some great slow animal, in and out, expansion and contraction, the long rhythm of collective hope and fear. Economists have tried for centuries to predict this rhythm, to see the turns before they come, and they have largely failed because the economy is made of people, and people are moved by feeling as much as by fact, by confidence and fear and rumor and mood, so that the great machine of money is, at heart, a machine of human feeling, and as hard to predict as a crowd or a heart. There is an old joke, gentle, and rueful that economists have predicted many more downturns than have ever actually happened, and another that if you laid all the economists in the world end to end, they would still point in every direction. And these jokes are told fondly because the truth they hold is comforting in its way, that no one truly knows, that the future of money is genuinely uncertain, and that there is therefore no use lying awake over it. So do not lie awake over it. Let the great breathing economy expand and contract without you, in and out, slow and vast. The very first coins are thought to have been made in an old kingdom in what is now Turkey from a natural mix of gold and silver called electrum, stamped with a simple mark to guarantee their weight, and from that small, bright idea, a lump of metal made trustworthy by a stamp, grew all the coinage of the world. A king named Croesus became so famous for his wealth in these early coins that his name still means great riches, as rich as Croesus, the old king of the first coins. Before coins, people traded by barter, swapping goods directly, a sack of grain for a clay pot, a goat for a length of cloth. But barter has a quiet flaw, that you must find someone who has what you want and wants what you have, both at once, and money solved this gently, becoming the thing that everyone wants, so that you need never find the perfect partner, only someone with money or someone who wants yours. This is the deep and simple magic of money, that it is the thing that can become any other thing, the universal middle, the substance that everyone will take, because everyone knows everyone else will take it too. A shared agreement so old and so deep that we forget it is an agreement at all, and think of money as simply real. Salt, cattle, shells, beads, metal, paper, and now mere numbers in a machine. Money has worn many bodies through the ages, growing lighter and more abstract with each step, from heavy cattle to weightless data, and yet the thing itself, the agreement, the trust, the willingness to take a token now because others will take it later, has stayed the same throughout, the oldest unbroken promise in the world. The word pecuniary, meaning relating to money, comes from the Latin word for cattle, because cattle were once a measure of wealth, and so even now, in a long technical word, the lowing of ancient herds survives. Wealth measured in cows, the old fortune on the hoof, grazing quietly inside a modern word. A fee, too, may trace back to an old word for cattle and property, and the words capital and chattel both win back to the head of cattle, the counting of livestock by the head, so that the language of high finance is threaded all through with the patient ghosts of cows, the herd standing behind the ledger, the oldest wealth there was. Let the herds graze in the soft dark of an old field, and let their slow presence settle you. In Japan, there are coins with holes in the center, and there have been such coins in many places and times, hold coins that could be strung together on a cord and carried in great strings. Hundreds of coins, worn like a heavy necklace or hung from a belt, the holes turning loose change into something you could thread and tie and carry whole. The strings of cash in old China could be very long, 1,000 coins or so to a string, and the strings themselves became a unit of money, so that a price might be given in strings, and the careful threading and counting of these coins was a daily labor, money you had to literally tie together to keep. Some coins were square or had square holes, and there were practical reasons that a square hole let many coins be stacked on a square rod and filed smooth all at once, their rough edges ground down together, an efficient little trick of the old mints. Hundreds of coins finished in a single turning. The smallest coins ever made were tiny, smaller than a fingernail, easy to lose and hard to handle. and the largest were enormous, great heavy plates, and the famous stone discs, so that across history, the coin has ranged from a fleck you could barely hold to a stone you could not lift, the whole strange range of what people have agreed to call money. There were once coins so large and heavy, made of copper, in a time when copper was the cheap money, that a modest sum weighed a great deal, and people are said to have hauled their money in carts. The low value of the metal, meaning that to carry a little worth, you carried a great weight, the opposite of our light paper and weightless numbers. The lightness of modern money, the way a fortune now weighs nothing at all, existing only as a number, would astonish the people who once carted copper or strung cash or hauled stone, and perhaps the weightlessness is its own quiet loss. Money grown so light, it hardly feels real, slipping away without a sound. Feel the weight leaving you now, the day's small worries growing light, light as a number, light as nothing. Banks keep their money in vaults, with doors that can weigh as much as a vehicle. Great round doors of layered steel set on hinges so fine that the enormous weight swings at the touch of a hand, balanced so perfectly that a person can move tons of metal with one arm. And these doors are marvels of engineering, built to resist drills and torches and explosives, a quiet fortress at the heart of an ordinary building. The time lock was a gentle invention that made bank robbery far harder, a lock that cannot be opened until a set hour, so that even if a robber forced the manager to the vault in the dead of night, the manager could not open it because the lock itself was waiting for morning, immune to threat, deaf to pleading, opening only when the clock allowed. This invention quietly saved many lives, because once everyone knew the vault could not be opened at night by anyone at all, there was no reason to threaten the people who held the keys, the lock's patience, protecting the human beings around it, a clock standing guard so that no person had to. The die pack, a hidden packet of bright ink tucked among the bills, was another quiet defense, designed to burst after a robber left the bank, ruining the stolen money with a cloud of unmistakable color and sometimes a harmless smoke, marking the thief and the cash, so that the loot itself turned traitor in the bag. Bills can also be tracked by their serial numbers, the unique little codes printed on each one, so that the numbers of money handed to a robber can be recorded and watched for. The stolen bills carrying their own quiet identity, traceable as they spread back out into the world. The money remembering where it had been. Some money is marked deliberately for traps and stings, treated so that it glows under special light, invisible until revealed, so that a person caught with it can be shown under the glow of a lamp, the silent mark on their hands and their cash, the trap sprung in light. No one can see by day. Let the vault door swing slowly shut, balanced and silent, sealing away the day. There is a place in the ocean of finance called the over-the-counter market, where things are traded directly between parties rather than on a public exchange, named from the old idea of buying something across a shop counter rather than in an open marketplace, a quieter, more private kind of trade happening away from the great loud floors. The trading floors themselves, where people once shouted and waved and made deals with frantic hand signals, were astonishing places, a sea of colored jackets and roaring voices and flying paper, an entire language of gestures developed so that a trader could signal a deal across a noisy room with the flick of a hand, fingers held one way to buy and another to sell. Most of that roaring has now fallen silent, the shouting replaced by the quiet hum of computers, trades happening in fractions of a second in cooled rooms full of machines, and the great noisy floors have largely emptied. The colored jackets retired, the hand signals forgotten. The loudest places in finance grown suddenly still. Some trading now happens so fast that the speed of light itself matters, and companies have laid special cables and built towers in straight lines across the land to shave tiny fractions of a second off the time it takes a price to travel. Because in that flicker of time, faster than any human thought, fortunes can be won and lost. The distance between two cities, measured in millionths of a second, became worth fighting over. There are computers that trade in slices of time too small for a person to perceive, buying and selling in the blink between blinks, and entire strategies built around being a hair faster than the next machine, so that much of the market now moves at a speed beyond human experience, a quiet blur of activity humming below the threshold of our slow, soft senses. And yet, beneath all that speed, the thing being traded is still the old thing, ownership and debt, and the value of distant companies, the same questions that the men beneath the buttonwood tree once asked of one another, only now asked and answered faster than lightning, by machines in the dark. Let the machines hum on at their impossible speed, and let yourself slow down all the more, slow as breath, slow as sleep. There is an old thought experiment about an invisible hand, the idea that countless people, each pursuing their own small ends, none of them meaning to help anyone else, can nonetheless, as if guided by an unseen hand, produce a kind of order, bread in the shops and shoes on the shelves, none of it commanded by anyone, all of it arising from the quiet sum of separate wishes. It is a strange and beautiful idea that order can come from no one in particular, that the market can feed a city without a single mind directing it. The baker does not bake your bread out of love for you, the old observation goes, but out of care for himself, and yet your bread is baked all the same. And this gentle paradox, that private wanting can serve the common good, has fascinated thinkers for centuries and troubled them too, because the hand is not always kind, and the order it makes is not always just, and so the argument goes on, softly, endlessly. The price of a thing, in this view, is a kind of message, a signal, gathering up countless scattered facts. How much wheat the harvest gave, how much people want bread, how far it must travel, all of it compressed into a single number, a price, that tells everyone what to do without anyone having to know the whole story. The price is a small messenger carrying news that no single mind could ever hold entire. When something grows scarce, its price rises, and the rising price quietly tells people to use less of it and to make more of it, and so without any command, the scarcity begins to mend itself, the high price calling forth more supply and gently waving away demand, a self-correcting whisper running through the whole vast system. And when something grows plentiful, the price falls, and the falling price says, gently, make less of this, use more, until the balance returns. This quiet conversation of prices going on everywhere, all the time, between everyone and everyone, is one of the strangest and most marvelous things about a market. A vast, unspoken negotiation with no negotiators, a language spoken by no one and understood by all. The great soft murmur of supply and demand, finding their level like water finding its level, slow and certain. Let your breath find its level too, slow and certain and deep. A subscription is a clever old idea, grown enormous, the small regular payment that buys ongoing access, and it began long ago with newspapers and journals, the reader subscribing to receive each issue, and now it has spread to nearly everything, so that we pay small, steady streams for music and films and software and storage. The great lump sums of the past dissolved into gentle, endless trickles. The genius and the quiet danger of the subscription is that the small regular payment is easy to start and easy to forget, so that money slips away in tiny amounts, unnoticed, for things half-used or wholly forgotten. And there is a whole quiet economy built on the gym memberships never used, the services forgotten but still paid, the small leaks in the bottom of the boat. Insurance is another old and gentle idea, the pooling of risk, where many people each pay a small amount so that the unlucky few who suffer a loss can be made whole. The fortunate quietly carrying the unfortunate, the whole arrangement resting on the soft mathematics of chance. That misfortune, spread across enough people, becomes bearable. The first insurance grew up among merchants and sailors who knew that any one ship might be lost, but that most would return. And so they shared the risk among themselves, each taking a small piece of the danger of every voyage, so that no single shipwreck could ruin any single merchant. The fear of the sea divided until it grew light enough to carry. A famous old coffee house in London, where ship's news was gathered and read aloud, became the gathering place for those who insured voyages. And from that coffee house grew one of the most famous names in insurance. The smell of coffee and the news of distant seas mingling into a great institution of shared risk, born among cups and rumors and the long odds of the ocean. The people who calculate these risks, the actuaries, work with great tables of how long people live and how often misfortune strikes, a quiet profession of careful mathematics applied to the uncertainties of life and death, turning the unknowable future into numbers gentle enough to plan around. And it is, in its way, one of the calmest professions there is, the study of risk made peaceful. Let the risks be pooled and shared and softened, and let nothing weigh on you alone tonight. A dividend is a small share of a company's profit, paid out to the people who own its shares, a quiet little payment arriving regularly, and there are people who arrange their whole savings to live on dividends, a gentle rain of small payments from many companies so that they own slivers of the world, and the world pays them, softly, again and again, for the owning. Compound growth, the slow doubling we spoke of, is sometimes called the most powerful force in finance, though that may be a fond exaggeration. But the heart of it is real and quiet, that money left alone to grow upon its own growth becomes, given enough years, far larger than seems possible, the small, steady gains feeding on themselves in the dark until they swell into something great. This is why those who save early, even small amounts, can end with more than those who save much more but start late, because the early money has more years to grow upon itself, more time in the dark to double and double again, and time in this gentle arithmetic matters even more than amount. The patient tortoise of early saving outpaces the late starting hare. There is a kind of fund that simply owns a small piece of a great many companies all at once, so that instead of guessing which single company will prosper, a person owns a sliver of all of them, rising and falling with the whole broad sweep of the market. A quiet and humble way to invest that has, over long stretches of time, served patient people surprisingly well. The idea behind it is gently humble, an admission that no one can reliably pick the winners, and so rather than try, one simply owns everything in small measure and waits, letting the whole slow tide of the economy lift the boat. And this humble patience has, again and again, quietly outperformed the clever and the confident, the tortoise once more, ambling past the hare. The opposite, the trying to pick winners, to buy low and sell high, to outguess the market, is endlessly attempted and rarely won, because the market already holds the guesses of millions, and to beat it, you must be right where the crowd is wrong again and again, which is far harder than it sounds and humbling to attempt. And the wisest voices often counsel simply patience and breadth and time. Patience and breadth and time. Let those three quiet words settle over you like a blanket. There is a coin, the gold coin of old, that has appeared in story and song as the very image of treasure. The doubloon, the ducat, the florin, the guilder, the sovereign, each one a small, bright disc that meant safety and power and the means to live. And the names themselves are lovely to say softly. Doubloon, ducat, florin, old gold rolling on the tongue. The florin took its name from the city of Florence, and the flower stamped upon it, and the ducat from a duke's domain, and the names of coins are full of places and rulers and flowers and small forgotten meanings, each coin a tiny monument carrying a name through centuries after the city or the duke or the flower had faded. The guinea was an English gold coin named for a region of Africa from which the gold was thought to come. And for a long time, fine and gentlemanly things were priced in guineas rather than pounds, a slightly grander unit, so that a tailor or a doctor might charge in guineas to seem a touch more refined, the coin lending its faint prestige to a price. Even after the guinea coin itself vanished, the habit of pricing certain genteel things in guineas lingered. At the racetrack and the auction house, a ghost coin haunting the prices of refined and sporting life, a unit of money that no longer existed, but still, somehow, set the price of fine things. Currencies have wonderful names around the world: the rupee and the ringgit, the baht and the dong, the krona and the koruna, the peso and the real, the rand and the won and the yen, each one carrying its own history, its own small story of how a people named the measure of their wealth, and to say them slowly is its own quiet pleasure, a soft litany of the monies of the earth. The dollar itself takes its name from an old silver coin called the thala, minted long ago from the silver of a particular valley. The valley's name shortening over centuries and crossing oceans until it became the dollar, so that the most famous money in the world is named distantly for a quiet valley where silver was once dug from the ground. Let the names of all the world's monies murmur past, soft and meaningless and lovely, a lullaby of coins. There was a time when people kept their accounts with notched sticks, tally sticks, splitting a stick of wood along its length so that each party kept half, the matching notches proving the debt. And the wood could not be forged because only the true other half would fit. An honest accounting in plain wood, the grain itself a kind of signature. The English treasury kept its accounts on such tally sticks for centuries, great bundles of notched wood recording the debts of the realm, and when at last the old sticks were no longer needed, they were burned in a stove beneath the Houses of Parliament, and the fire grew out of control, and the whole great building burned down, so that an empire's old accounts, going up in flames, took the Parliament with them, a strange and rueful end for the humble tally stick. Double-entry bookkeeping, the careful method of recording every transaction twice, once as it leaves and once as it arrives, was described long ago by a monk who was also a mathematician, and this quiet method, balancing every entry against another, became the foundation of all modern accounting, the discipline that lets a vast company know at any moment exactly where it stands. Every coin accounted for twice, coming and going, the books always balancing if the work is honest. The very idea that the books must balance, that for every credit there is a debit, that nothing simply appears or vanishes, is a kind of conservation law for money, gentle and strict. And an accountant finding the books do not balance knows that somewhere some small thing has been missed and will hunt for it patiently, because the universe of the ledger does not permit money to come from nowhere. The word audit comes from a word for hearing, because in the old days the accounts were read aloud and listened to, the auditor literally hearing the figures, checking them by ear. And so even now, the careful checking of accounts carries in its name the memory of a quiet room and a voice reading numbers and a careful listener nodding along. A ledger was once a great heavy book that lay always in one place, too large and important to move. The word itself related to lying down, to staying put. The book that rested permanently on its stand, holding the steady record of all that came and went. And there is something restful in the image of that great still book, lying open, patiently recording, never moving from its place. Let the great ledger lie open and still, recording nothing now, at rest like you. The phrase "to cook the books," to falsify accounts, has a faintly warm and kitchen-like sound for so cold a crime, and the language of financial wrongdoing is full of these soft disguises, of cooking and laundering and parking and sheltering, gentle domestic words wrapped around hard deceptions, as if the words themselves were trying to soften what they named. A slush fund, a pool of money kept aside for quiet purposes, took its name, the story goes, from the fat and grease, the slush, skimmed from the cooking on old ships, and sold for a little extra money that the crew kept for themselves. A small private fund, born from the galley, the leftover fat of the voyage becoming the sailor's secret cash. A nest egg, a slush fund, a rainy day fund, the money set aside for the future and the unexpected, has many soft names, and the rainy day itself, that gentle image of the hard time to come, has comforted savers for generations. The squirrel's instinct dressed in the language of weather, money saved against the rain. To save for a rainy day is one of the oldest pieces of money wisdom, and one of the hardest to follow, because the rainy day is far off and invisible, and the sunny day is here and tempting. And the long, quiet struggle between the present want and the future need is at the heart of nearly all our trouble with money, the grasshopper and the ant playing out in every heart. The ant who stored against winter and the grasshopper who sang through summer is one of the oldest money fables, and though the ant is meant to be the wise one, there is something in us that loves the grasshopper too, that knows the summer is real and the song is worth singing. And perhaps the gentlest wisdom is somewhere between them, a little stored away and a little summer enjoyed, the rainy day prepared for, but the sunny day not wholly sacrificed to it. So enjoy this quiet now, this still summer of the night, with everything prepared for and nothing to be done. And let the ant and the grasshopper both fall asleep in the long grass. The credit score, that quiet number that follows a person through their financial life, is calculated from how reliably they have borrowed and repaid, a kind of reputation rendered into a figure, and it shapes what they can buy and borrow and rent. A soft, invisible mark carried everywhere, built slowly from a history of small promises kept or broken. The whole great machinery of lending rests, in the end, on this question of trust, of whether a promise to repay will be kept, and lenders have devised endless ways to measure and guess at this trust, from the old village knowledge of a person's character to the modern number crunched from 1,000 small facts, all of it trying to answer one old simple question: can this person be believed? Collateral is the thing pledged against a loan, The house behind the mortgage, the car behind the car loan, the thing the lender may take if the promise is broken. And the word comes from the idea of something running alongside, beside the loan, a security walking quietly next to the debt, ready to be claimed if the debt is not paid. A pawn shop is one of the oldest forms of lending, where a person leaves a valued object and receives a small loan against it, returning later to repay and reclaim their treasure, or letting it go if they cannot. And the three balls that hang as the old sign of the pawnbroker are said to come from the coat of arms of a great old banking family, a quiet heraldic ghost still swinging above the pawn shops of the world. That banking family, whose symbol may have become the pawnbroker's sign, was one of the great money houses of old Europe, lending even to kings. And the lending to kings was a dangerous business, because a king who did not wish to repay could simply refuse, or worse. And more than one great banking family was ruined by a royal debt that was never paid, the danger of lending to those more powerful than yourself. To lend to a king was to gamble that his honor or his need to borrow again would outweigh his power to refuse, and sometimes it did, and sometimes it did not. And the rise and fall of the old banking houses is a long, quiet story of trust extended to the powerful and sometimes betrayed. The eternal risk at the heart of all lending written large across the courts of kings. Let the kings and their debts and their dangers fade into the soft dark of history, far away, no concern of yours. There is a quiet pleasure in the names of financial things, the blue chip, named perhaps for the most valuable chips in a casino, meaning the great, steady, reliable companies, and the penny stock, the cheap and speculative share, and the unicorn, the rare young company grown suddenly vast. And the whale, the player so large, their single move can stir the whole pond. A whole soft bestiary swims through the language of money, bulls and bears, and whales and unicorns, and hawks and doves. The hawks and the doves are the people who guard a nation's money. The hawks wishing to keep money tight and guard against rising prices. The doves wishing to keep money loose and easy to help people find work. And the gentle, endless argument between them, hawk and dove, tight and loose, shapes the cost of money for everyone. Two soft birds disputing the temperature of the world. A dead cat bounce is a grim and vivid name for a small, temporary rise in a falling price. The idea, darkly, that even a dead cat will bounce a little if it falls far enough. And the language of traders is full of such blunt, dark humor, gallows wit for a profession of constant small losses and gains, the laughter that keeps the fear at bay. To catch a falling knife is to try to buy something whose price is dropping fast, hoping to catch the bottom, and the danger in the image is plain, that you may simply be cut. And so the wise are warned not to catch falling knives, not to reach for the bottom of a fall, because no one knows where the bottom is until it is past. The market climbs a wall of worry, the old saying goes, rising even as everyone frets and doubts, and falls down a slope of hope, dropping even as everyone reassures themselves, so that the mood of the crowd and the movement of prices dance a strange, contrary dance, the prices often doing the opposite of what the feeling expects, a puzzle wrapped in a proverb. Buy the rumor, sell the news, the traders say, meaning that the expectation of good news lifts a price before the news arrives, so that by the time the good news is real, the rise is already spent, and the clever have already gone, leaving the latecomers to buy at the top, a small, sad cycle repeating endlessly, the news always arriving just too late to help. Let all the sayings of the traders murmur past like the chatter of birds at dusk, meaning nothing now, just soft sound fading into evening. The mint mark, the tiny letter on a coin, has occasionally been the center of great excitement among collectors when a mint made a small error one year, leaving off a letter or adding an extra one, so that a handful of coins escaped into the world bearing a tiny flaw, and these became precious, hunted. A small mistake transformed by rarity into treasure, a typo in metal worth a fortune. There are people who spend their lives searching through ordinary pocket change, through rolls of coins from the bank, hoping to find one of these rare errors hiding among the common coins. A quiet, patient treasure hunt conducted in ordinary money, and now and then someone truly does find a small fortune in their change, a rare coin overlooked by everyone until that moment. The thrill of finding value in the overlooked runs all through the world of collecting. The rare stamp in the old album, the precious coin in the jar, the first edition in the box of old books, and there is something gently hopeful in it. The idea that treasure might be hiding anywhere, in the most ordinary things, waiting to be noticed by a patient eye. A misprinted stamp, where the printing went wrong and an image was set upside down, has become one of the most famous treasures in all of collecting. A small sheet of stamps with an airplane printed inverted, flying upside down through a tiny printed sky. And these few stamps, born from a single error long ago, are now worth more than almost anything of their size on Earth. The error stamp, the error coin, the misprinted note, all of them remind us gently that value is not the same as quality, that a thing can be precious precisely because it is wrong, because it is rare, because of the strange accidents of how many exist, and the whole logic of collecting turns on this soft paradox that the flawed and the few are often worth the most. And so, the perfect common coin is worth its face, and the flawed rare coin a fortune. And the difference is not in the metal, but in the story, in the rarity, in the wanting, the value floating free of the thing itself and resting instead in the minds of those who want it, which is, when you think on it gently, true of nearly all value everywhere. Let value float free and weightless, resting on nothing, like a thought just before sleep. There is a tradition, in many places, of giving money as a gift in a special way. Crisp new bills in a red envelope, or coins baked into a cake, or a single coin given with a new purse so that it is never empty. Small customs that surround money with luck and blessing, turning the cold cash into something warm and meaningful, a wish wrapped around a coin. To give a new wallet or purse with a coin already inside so that it is never given empty is a gentle custom in many cultures. The small starting coin, a wish that the purse may always have something in it, that the friend may never be without, and it is a lovely thought that we tuck a blessing in among the leather and the lining. The red envelope of money, given at the New Year and at weddings and at births in many cultures, carries luck along with the cash. The red itself, a color of fortune, and there are soft rules about whether the amount should be even or odd, lucky or unlucky numbers, so that the giving of money becomes an art of meaning. The sum itself, a message. Certain numbers are lucky or unlucky in the giving of money in different places, so that one avoids a sum containing an unlucky number and favors one containing a lucky one, and a gift of money becomes a small, careful poem of digits, chosen not for the amount alone, but for the luck the numbers carry, the math of fortune and superstition woven together. A coin found heads up is thought lucky. In an old Western custom, find a penny, pick it up, and all the day you'll have good luck. And so a small coin glinting on the pavement carries, for some, a flicker of fortune, and people stoop for it, not for the cent, but for the luck, the smallest money in the world, freighted with the oldest hope. To toss a coin to decide a thing, heads or tails, is to hand a choice to chance, to luck, to the turning of the coin in the air, and it is one of the oldest ways of deciding, fair because it is blind. And there is a strange peace in handing a hard choice to the spinning coin, letting it fall as it will, the decision lifted from your shoulders into the air. Let a coin spin slowly in the air of your mind, turning and turning, never quite landing, and let the not landing be a kind of rest. The very wealthiest fortunes in history are hard to compare across the ages because money meant such different things in different times, but scholars gently try, adjusting for the prices of long ago, and they find that some ancient and medieval fortunes, measured against the world they lived in, rival or exceed the greatest fortunes of today, the rich of old as rich in their world as any billionaire in ours. A Roman general of old was said to be so wealthy that he measured his fortune in the number of soldiers he could afford to raise and pay himself, owning a private army out of his own pocket, and he even ran a private fire brigade that would arrive at a burning building and offer to buy it cheaply before agreeing to put out the fire, a grim and clever way of growing richer still from other people's disasters. A medieval banker or merchant prince might fund the building of cathedrals and the wars of kings, their wealth so woven into the life of their cities that the line between the rich man and the state grew faint, and they spent their fortunes on great works of art and architecture that still stand today, so that we walk, even now, through the buildings their money raised. The old fortunes turned to stone and beauty and time. So much of the beauty of the old world was paid for by the wealth of the few, the cathedrals and palaces and paintings, funded by merchants and bankers and kings, the money of the powerful, turned into things that have outlasted them by centuries, so that the fortunes are gone, but the beauty remains, the wealth transformed into something that no longer belongs to anyone, only to time. And perhaps that is the gentlest fate of money, to be turned into something lasting and shared, a bridge, a library, a garden, a great window of colored glass, so that long after the rich are dust and the fortunes scattered, the thing the money made still stands, still shelters, still glows in the afternoon light for anyone at all to see. The money flows away, as it always does, and now and then it leaves something behind, and the something is the only part that lasts, and we who walk through it never think of the coins that built it, only of the quiet and the light. Rest now in that quiet and that light. The day's accounts are closed. Every small sum is settled. There is nothing left to count tonight. Let the coins sink slowly through the still water, down past the wishes, down to the soft floor, and settle there, and shine faintly, and be still. Let the great ledger close. Let the vault door swing gently shut. Let the markets fall silent, and the machines hum low and far away. You have enough. You need nothing more. The night is long and quiet, and entirely paid for. Breathe in slowly and let it go. Breathe in and let it go. And drift now down past all the numbers into sleep. Sleep well. There is nothing here to count. There is only rest and rest and rest.